new client, Sue, came to me. She was very distraught. She had just lost a position that was right for her. She was and continued to be the top executive of a professional association, but it was kind of small. And she'd done it for 10 years. She was ready to move up. She was ready for the next challenge. And that next challenge came with a great opportunity for her to take the helm of a much larger association. She thought she'd aced that interview and she was sure she was going to get that job. But the call came, Sue, we've gone another way. And there she was, disappointed. She actually knew someone on the search committee. And she called and said, can you tell me, how did I possibly lose out? It was so right for me. I was so right for it. And the person said, it was your social media, Sue. She said to him, hey, there was hardly anything there. What was there to complain about? That was what was there to complain about. Her social media was hardly there at all. And she was the top executive for the professional association. That person said, Sue, we couldn't trust you with our brand because you didn't drive your own. So I began to work with Sue. And as we worked, I was able to point out to her some mistakes. Now, the mistakes I'm going to share are mistakes that Sue had, but they're mistakes that many, many senior leaders have. We're going to share 8 mistakes and what to do about them. So the first is that this is not a mistake. This is just a general thing. If your profile is not bringing to you ideal for you opportunities, there's something wrong. And we need to address that. So the very first problem that I found on Sue's profile was that she was hardly there at all. That person who was passionate and powerful, who had a sense of purpose, who had principles that guided her work, that person was missing on the profile. You see, she had what most people have on their profiles, each of her positions. She had her picture, but nothing else. Nothing that would share who she is authentically. Nothing that would share how she leads. So I know that every LinkedIn profile that is truly memorable, that helps people stand out, starts right here from your heart center. Another way to say that is that it starts from your personal brand. Now, personal brand is not something that we all know about. And so I have developed 3 signature branding questions. These 3 questions get me in the direction that I need to go every single time. So today, if you are going to take any notes at all, write down these 3 questions. So the first one is, what are the 3 things you want to be known for? Now, this is a simple question, but it's not necessarily easy to answer. The first time someone asked me this question was about 30 years ago. And of course, I was so special that I wanted to be known for 6 things. I wanted to communicate 6 things about me. I wanted everybody to know how broad my range was and how I could fit in any little hole they might happen to have. I thought that the more broadly I described myself, the more people I would attract. But that is not the case. You see, over many, many years, preachers and teachers and talkers and orators and writers, all those people use the construct of 3. And the construct of 3 is important because as people, we are hardwired to remember things that come in 3. Now, 3 is such a magical number. But what I didn't realize until more recently is that more is absolutely less. When we list 4 or 5 or 6 things in our LinkedIn headline, we want to get attention with all the things we can do. People's eyes glaze over. And what they remember about us is not the 6 things, not even the first 3 of 6 things. What they remember is that we are unfocused. And when we are unfocused, we are not the solution to anyone's business problem. We are not that perfect person that people want to know, like, and trust and do business with. So the first of my 3 questions is, what are the 3 things you want to be known for? And the second is, what are your differentiators? What are your superpowers? What are the things that make you stand out every single time? If you don't know what those are, and some people, it comes to them so naturally that they have no idea that it's important. But if you ask your colleagues, what is it that makes me special at what I do? They will absolutely know. So do that 360 review and become aware of your differentiators, because it's one of the things that we need to communicate about ourselves. And then the last of my 3 signature questions is, what are your keywords? Now, keywords, sometimes people get all wrapped up, but really what keywords are is the words that you would put in a search engine to find someone just like you. So yes, they can be job titles, they can be content areas and skills. Make sure when you are thinking of your keywords that you're using things like your essential skills, communication style, the way that you interact with people. So when we know these things, we can build an incredibly strong LinkedIn profile. Our answers provide building blocks that we can use in different ways to narrow what we want to say so that we are memorable. Okay, now I am going to be talking to you about 8 different mistakes. I've covered just one. All the rest of them go faster. And they go faster because the background that I gave you is just so important. Okay, before we go on with all of those others, this is where you come in, Linda. I am going to have Linda give us a timer for 4 minutes. And I am going to give you an incredible gift. It is the gift of time. Time spent for yourself. In these 4 minutes, I invite you to actually write down, what are the 3 things you want to be known for? And then if that's just super easy for you, which it may or may not be, You can go on to the next question about differentiators and keywords, but please don't use this time to check your email. Use this time for you, because this is happy 4 minutes, which Linda is starting now. Okay. So I will move on then. So we were talking about Sue and the mistakes that she had. The second, that's a very common mistake, is that your headline doesn't distinguish yourself from others. So the headline that I wrote up here, Chief Financial Officer at XYZ Company, that is the format that LinkedIn default fills for us. And so that's a gift in itself from LinkedIn, but LinkedIn has an even better gift that I want people to know about, and that is 220 characters where we can talk about what value we really bring, what value we bring beyond just our job title. And so here's how I have used these things that I've identified in the branding questions and how I've used them in the headline. So this is my client, Jana. And during my work with her, she was in job transition. So we started with a functional job title. And let me share with you what we did with that. Her functional job title was Senior Operations Executive. And then we used her differentiator. She was an incredibly fabulous turnaround leader. And she did these things. The three things she always wants to be known for are assessing opportunities, aligning strategies, and deploying resources for success. So in that one, we used everything we got from her session. This is my client, Mark, and Mark shows up always in the areas of working as for strategic growth and customer-centered areas. But the way that he does it is remarkable. He's a transformational leader, he's a problem solver, and he develops people. So these are the things that we want to catch someone's attention with. We've got another one. This is my client, Kirk. Kirk was a vice president of finance for a business unit in a Fortune 500 company. He controlled a lot of money, which would have been just fine for most financial folks, but he really, really, really wanted to be a chief financial officer. And one of the reasons that he wanted to do that is that he wanted to put his own imprint on a company. And to do that, he had to be part of the central leadership. He now is a chief financial officer, but this was the title that we developed, or the headline we developed for him when he was searching. So it is Senior Financial Executive / CFO. We didn't put his vice president position in, even though he was still in that position, because he really, really, really did not want to be a vice president yet. Now, he brings value. His incredible result is positive system-wide impact. And then here's the way that happens for him: through people development, collaboration, and strategic innovation. Can you see that better, Rebecca? So these are remarkable ways for a CFO to show up. But if I painted him like the standard CFO, he wouldn't have been happy. These are the ways that he has always added value in his position. They sound like chief human resource officer roles, but he's doing this in his company because we wanted to build a brand for him that was so authentic that the opportunities that would come to him would be absolutely on target for him. Okay, and here's mine. So I want to be known as an executive branding coach, a speaker, and an author. And then I'm written directly to my target audience to tell them what values they will receive from my consultation. Their eminence made clear to all 24/7 so that they can recruit the top talent they are looking for, increase their visibility, and control their careers. Okay, so that's how I use the different parts of that branding exercise in the headline. You can also use those things in the about section. It's hard to write that much in the about section unless you know where you're going. And the exercise that we did earlier can teach you and shape how you write about yourself. And then finally, we would use that in the skills section as well. So let's move on. So the third mistake is you don't look like your headshot anymore. That was a problem that Sue had. Great picture. Flaming red hair, beautiful. 15 years ago. The person who was sitting in front of me did not have flaming red hair. I could not have picked her out, having seen her picture, I couldn't have picked her out of a group of 3. If you are disingenuous about the picture that you share, what else on your profile should we disbelieve? So be who you are. All right, let's see. Of course, Sue hadn't taken advantage of the opportunity to customize her banner. That banner image is the big real estate in the back of the picture. And most people haven't done that, but let me show you the difference that it makes. So this is my client, Tony Fisher. Yeah. And, the image that I've got is an old background as opposed to the current one. But either way, it's kind of But Tony is a remarkable person. Tony is the owner and president of K1 Sportswear. And in northern Minnesota, in a little town, his company produces the highest quality professional team uniforms like these worn by the USA hockey team. Boom, you've got Tony's brand. Boom, you know that Brenda Elsager is a speaker. You know that my client Joe is all about restaurants and kitchens. Now, most of us don't have such a wonderful picture that we can use that describes what it is that we do. And so for those people that I work with for whom that's not the case, I suggest a little party between the right brain and the left brain, where the concept is to try to have a visual depiction or visual metaphor for some aspect of your brand. I have a client who is absolutely the calmest person that I know. And it's an important part of his brand because what he does is he's a continuity professional. which means that, when a hurricane comes through and destroys the whole computer system for his company, the infrastructure, he is responsible for setting it up someplace else in, 12 hours. And he does it with such grace. He has command and calm. The picture that we picked for him, absolutely still water with a sunrise coming up. It was the right picture. Okay. Mistake number 5. You have too little text to rank well on a keyword search. Now, this doesn't prevent people from finding you by your name. So if people already know who they're looking for, they can still find you. But the opportunities that are right for you, they're not coming unless the search engine finds you. So, for instance, Linda mentioned earlier that I was named this year by the American Reporter as one of 6 top personal brand experts to watch in 2022. Well, I was very honored by that. How did that happen? Did they interview a bunch of people? No, they used the search engine on LinkedIn, and they found me that way. So opportunities that are right for you come your way when you have enough text for people to find you. Now, enough text, what does that mean?
Yeah.
I suggest that we need to be writing to the margins. Writing to the margins, you might even want to take a picture of this one. These are the limits to the LinkedIn sections. So we have 220 characters for the headline. Our about section
5 paragraphs?
is 5 paragraphs long. Yes, indeed. 2,600 characters. Expertise or experience, we can use 2,000 characters for each of our jobs. Now, I don't suggest that you use it for 10 jobs, but the most recent job and the one prior to that, you should be using about 2,000 characters. And I don't want to know what your responsibilities are. I want to know what your accomplishments are. And the reason for that is that people who have accomplished great things continue to accomplish great things. So anyone who's looking for a next opportunity, that's a good thing to do. All right. Number 6, your URL is not customized. So what does that look like? That looks like this URL that I have put up here for Jane Finley. And in fact, Sue's went on like this too, with nonsense numbers and characters after it. Why is that important that we customize our URL? It's not important for LinkedIn. LinkedIn has already customized it to their specifications. All they need to know is that no one other than you has that same URL. But it's a branding opportunity that this person has missed. Jane Finley is not likely to be able to take all those numbers and characters off and go just with her name, because that's probably a name that many people around the world have, Jane Finley. Carol Kaemmerer is not a name that anybody else on LinkedIn has. And so that is my customized URL. But if you can't customize it just with your name, add your middle initial or your academic credentials at the end, or this is one of my favorite, add a word absolutely is your word. So I have a client who is an incredible turnaround expert. He makes companies make money again after hemorrhaging for years, and he creates an improved culture, which is an interesting combination. The word that he chose was change. He brings change. And so his URL is his first name and his last name and change. Think how powerful that would be on his email signature block, on his business card, and even when he writes it in the chat. Have you noticed what people write in the chat? Some people's URLs go on forever. All right, so that was that one. Oh, if you have a LinkedIn URL that goes on forever, like Sue and Jane Finley, this is where to change it. So it's to the right of your profile, right at the top, it says edit public profile and URL. And you click there and get it right. So make a note of that. If you need to take a screenshot, that's a good thing to do. Mistake number 7, missing logos. Okay, the little logo with the rectangles on the left is the logo that LinkedIn uses when there is no company registration with LinkedIn.
Okay,
and the one on the right is when there is no registration for a university or college. Now, Sue had both these problems. And that was especially egregious because she was in charge of the brand of her professional association. And she did not have a logo that went with the professional association, which meant that all of the people who were on her staff and served on her board had no logo for their activity. So we'll talk about how to address that. But first, I want to talk about this missing one for education. Sue went to Pepperdine University. Well, everybody knows Pepperdine University, and so surely LinkedIn knows Pepperdine University. Well, that is absolutely true. LinkedIn does know Pepperdine University, but LinkedIn didn't know the Pepperdine that she wrote because she misspelled it. So when you have the problem of a missing logo, make sure that you're spelling the name of the company correctly, or that you're using the current name of the company to look. And if you are in charge of the company, then it's up to you to make sure that that logo appears. There are many times when there's not a logo available because the company was a small company and it came and went without registering with LinkedIn. But here's how to register your company with LinkedIn. This is how to get your logo to show up. You go to the work icon, which is on the right side of your toolbar. And the last item on that is create a company page. To create a company page is absolutely free. And you need a website, you need email that goes to that website and that's associated with your account, and you need a logo. And then your logo will show up on your company, on your profile. Important. The last mistake that I wanted to address was Sue wasn't active on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a place where we can nurture our business relationships. The reason that that's important is that when we pay attention to someone, they pay attention to us. It's the way business happens. If someone posts, write a comment back. It's the way that we show that we are paying attention to people. And that builds good feeling, that builds the ability to do work together. You can also be nurturing your reputation as a thought leader. You can be nurturing just being top of mind so that when opportunities come up, people will remember and think of you. So I said that we would talk about what happened to Sue. Was she memorable? Yes, indeed. We got Sue all worked up with a great profile. She learned so much about herself from my branding exercise that she was so much more able to articulate the things that she brings that are incredible gifts to her world of work. And when that next position came around, she got it. It was great. That is my hope for you, is that you have found some ways to make your LinkedIn profile more authentic, more powerful, and to make it work harder for you.